everybody started buying oil from Iran, and Iran now is very rich. And instead of having a great negotiating position, we have a terrible negotiating position. And they're actually trying to make a deal that was worse than the first one. The first one was horrible. The first one was a short-term deal. I mean, it wasn't like it was for 50 years or 100 years. It would be expiring just about now. So, and that was a license for them to make nuclear weapons. And you cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon. You cannot let it happen, because bad things will happen if that happens. But I got that approved. That was the biggest of all. That was bigger than Jerusalem. That was bigger than the Golan Heights. I always considered that to be the biggest. But unfortunately, they took that deal and didn't do anything. Iran was they were dying to make a deal, and they didn't do anything with it. And then, of course, we did the Abraham Accords, which would have been, I mean, something incredible. Something incredible. So we took care of Israel like no president has ever. In fact, they said if I ran for prime minister of Israel, I'd get 99% of the votes. I'm thinking about doing that. We delivered the largest tax cuts and regulatory cuts on record in the history of our country. And we built the greatest economy in the history of the world. There's never been an economy like the economy we had. More jobs, more everything that we've ever had before. We achieved energy independence. And we're ready to be energy dominant. We were going to supply oil to all over Europe, everywhere. I was the one that brought up Nord Stream 2. You remember that. Nobody ever heard of Nord Stream 2. I said to Germany, Angela Merkel, I said, you can't make that deal. If you make that deal, that means you're going to be subservient to Russia. She said, no, Donald, this will be wonderful. It didn't turn out to be too good for them. Then gas prices, when I was in office, reached low numbers like $1.87 a gallon, and even less. Think of that. Now they go to 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And it hasn't stopped. Wait till you see what's going to be happening over the next 2 years. We created the most secure border in U.S. history, built nearly 500 miles of border wall, which was so helpful. Got Mexico to give us 28,000 soldiers free of charge. I said, look, if you're not going to give them free, I'm going to have to tariff all of the cars that you're building, because, you know, they took those car companies out of Detroit and other places, and they now build 32% of our cars that are built in Mexico. I said, I'm going to put tariffs on if you don't give us the soldiers. And they said, we would love to give you the soldiers. It would be. We had the Remain in Mexico. That's for all the people that are pouring in. And I believe the number is going to be, Lindsay, 15 million people by the end of this year. And they come out of mental institutions. They come out of jails. They come out of insane asylum, which is a stronger word. They said, don't use those words, sir, they're nasty, but insane asylums, very sick people, and and terrorists are being poured into our country like never before. And I also terminated the ridiculous catch and release. So ridiculous. You catch the people and you release them in our country, okay? Now with Biden, basically that's what they do. But we caught the people and we released them outside of our country. I fully rebuilt the U.S. military, created Space Force, and defeated ISIS and brought our troops back home. You remember during the campaign, do you remember when they said, oh, he's going to bring us into World War III. He's going to bring us in personality type. I said, no, my personality is going to keep you out of World War III. That's what happened. But all of that was only the beginning, and here's just some of the bold agenda that I'll immediately implement when we become the 47th President of the United States. And I'll work with the people here and a lot of other people in Washington right now, because I just rode through Washington, and it doesn't look like it used to look with me. They have fences around their parks. They have tents up all over the place, tents. This is the capital. This is the most important thing. Think of this, the capital of our country. It's got papers all over the streets. The sidewalks are filthy dirty. I used to drive by and I'd be screaming over the phone, get those sidewalks clean, get this, get that. You got to get the tents down. You can't have the tents. You know, once those tents form, once you leave 4 or 5 of them, there was a group of 4 or 5, and I told Secret Service, you got to get over it. We got to take it down immediately, because once that happens, you have 10, then you have 20, then you have hundreds. And what's happened to this city since I've been gone is, oh, it's so sad. It's so dirty and filthy, and people are stopping coming. And that's true in a lot of other cities, too. You look at Chicago, you look at San Francisco, look at New York, what's going on. All Democrat-run. But it was so sad to see. You know, I look forward to coming here, but it was a very sad trip between the airplane and here because I'm looking at something that I don't even recognize. It's so dirty, and it shouldn't be that way. It's a great place, and it shouldn't be that way. When I get back into the Oval Office, I will totally obliterate the deep state. Remember, we didn't know if there was a deep state. People would say, yeah, I don't know. Now about everybody thinks, yeah, there's a deep state. I call it a bad state. I'll fire the unelected bureaucrats who have weaponized our justice system. And they have weaponized. And we'll create the Truth and Reconciliation Commission to declassify and publish all documents on deep state spying. They spy on so much. Censorship, corruption, including all of that on Christians. The Christians have been under siege under this administration. Just please remember that. Please remember that when they tell you about how much they love you. They don't love you at all. They don't love you at all. Never again will federal law enforcement be used to target religious believers. And hopefully never again will it be used to target opponents in an election, because that's what they're doing. Americans of faith are not a threat to our country. Americans of faith are the soul of our country. And when I'm back in the White House, I will once again appoint rock-solid conservative judges and the mold of justices like Antonin Scalia and the great Clarence Thomas, who really they are going after right now very unfairly. You read that, sir, very unfairly. And before Election Day 2024, I will again release the full list of names from which I will select my appointments to the United States Supreme Court. I did that last time, and it had a big impact. To stop the Marxist, and they are indeed Marxist, or worse, fascist, Marxist, prosecutors who release rapists and murderers while persecuting conservatives and people of religion, I will direct a completely overhauled DOJ to investigate every radical DA in America, AG in America, for their illegal racist and reverse enforcement of the law. These are bad people. And they're being run by the DOJ, just in case you have any questions. You know, in New York, where they go after me, never had a problem. All of a sudden, I get a DA who's after me. Brag. But you know what they did? They put people from the DOJ into the DA's office. Can you believe it? I don't even think that's legal, they say. But I have DOJ prosecutors in there telling them how to go about it. But they haven't done a very good job because they have no case. To deter illegal immigration coming from jails and these mental institutions that I've told you about, all of the terrorists we're infiltrating, and they're infiltrating our country like never before in the history of our country. I don't think any country in the world has gone through this. And I always say, even a third world country wouldn't allow people in like this. They would stand there with sticks and stones. They wouldn't allow it to happen.